15 years ago, I quit a stable corporate job to become a real estate investor in a brand new market. No network, no roadmap, just the pressure to feed my family. Back then, I rebuilt momentum by studying winners and copying what worked. I'm doing the same thing again now. And in this video, I will show you my 3-step process I use every time I need to start from scratch. This thing behind me here is our momentum bar. In the beginning, we're gonna go from 0 momentum when nothing is working to maximum momentum. This is kind of like your battery, and the whole purpose of the video is to fully charge the battery. There are 3 steps. Step number 1, don't get emotional. Let me start by telling you a story about when this thing hit me hard. This is when I lived in sunny California. I had just started my real estate business. I was deep into the grind, making offers, seeing properties, and trying to secure my first ever deal. My first agent had already quit on me. Then this happened when the second one did the same exact thing. We were seeing yet another vacant property standing in the driveway when he approached me and said, "Look, EJ, I don't think this is gonna work. I have to start doing something else." We had been submitting offers for 5 to 6 months. Nothing worked. No deals, no money, nothing coming in. I was driving home, deep in my thoughts, thinking, well, what the heck am I gonna do? This guy is probably right, or is he? Am I delusional, or am I just early in the process? I was frustrated, I was depressed maybe too, and I was sad at the same time, thinking this would have taken me a lot less time than the 6 months that it already had taken. That's when I decided to just do what I've always done really well. Grind. Stick to it. Stick with the process. Take action. And I started conceptualizing my own ideas in my head. And that's when it really hit me. There are 2 things in life. There are feelings and there are actions. We can't control the feelings, but we can control what we can do. There have been numerous times after this incident when the same thing has hit me. I'm doing something, I'm putting all my effort into it, but nothing seems to work. I wake up in the morning and I don't really feel like doing anything. I'm supposed to record a video, put together a script, and deliver my best possible performance. Like today, talking to you guys again. What happens if you have a bad morning? Because that happens more often than not. The way we can fix those feelings is by taking action. This feels like the super simple thing to do, but trust me, it works every time. So these incidents in my life have been the best reminders for me as far as what to do. Ignore the feelings and focus only on the actions. Scared, lonely, fear of losing face or fear of losing all that money. Those are just feelings, they are not facts. It doesn't mean that all those bad feelings will materialize and the bad things will happen in your life. This is what I remind myself. Focus on the actions, focus on the inputs, and the outputs will always be there. Not necessarily today, but in the long term, you will always get what you deserve. So in step number 1, we understood that actions fix feelings, not the other way around. Don't wait for you to be ready because you will never be ready. We are all clueless. By taking action, we're gonna get there. Okay, so we're building momentum, approaching step number 2. Step number 2 in our process is to understand where are we right now. This is the current state analysis. There are actually only 2 things you need to find out when it comes to this step, and those are find out what works and find out what doesn't work. So let me tell you a story again. This is related to my YouTube strategy and my YouTube story. I started posting this content on YouTube a year and 2 months ago. The first, I would say 10 to 11 months, everything went pretty smoothly. My leads were up, I was able to get deals and I was able to get new clients, but all of a sudden I hit a wall. Nothing seemed to work. What did I do? Going back to my step number 2. Current state analysis. Understand where you are, where you want to go, and how to get there. What works today and what doesn't work. Because there are always things that are well in your life. Usually it's 90% and 10% is the stuff that doesn't work. But that part, that 10% is the stuff that overwhelms us. So in this step, our job is to really understand what is that we are doing well today and what is that we are not doing well. Here's what I always do. I take the value chain, I break it down into bits and pieces. In my yesterday's video when I talked about a rental car company and how people remove friction, I talked about the same thing. It's understanding before, during, and after. This is my way of doing it. So if you have a customer transaction, what happens before the customer comes, what happens during you have that transaction when you deliver your product or your service, and what happens after the fact. Break it down into bits and pieces. I'll give you an example of what I did. So my YouTube strategy. I went and broke down my value chain, my way of delivering my messages. Every single piece of content has a hook, has a message and a CTA, a call to action in the end. The idea was to understand that what goes into this process, create a document, list every single step that you're fully aware of. And right now, since I'm a rookie still with my content, maybe I only understand 1/3 of all the bits and pieces that go into my value chain. Those are the so-called variables. And here's a really important piece of information for you. If you can control as many of those variables as possible, you pretty much control the outcome. So that was my incentive. That was my objective with the task. Okay, first, break down the variables and then understand what is that we are doing well, what works, and what is that we are not doing well. And then you start identifying those. And then really the key thing there is that since we know now where we are, what works, what doesn't, the next question is, okay, where do we want to go? And can I find examples of people who have been delivering this, who are world-class examples of that, people or companies? And then list what they are doing, write down what their behaviors are, not at a high level, but at the lowest level possible. Again, using a YouTube as an example, if I go and analyze every single top 1% performer or content creator in business coaching category, I would start looking at their titles, their thumbnails, their delivery mechanism, the way they tell their stories, the way they look, are they charismatic, the way they dress, every single variable. If you start thinking it that way, you understand that there are a lot of different bits and pieces that go into it. And then what you actually do is that you understand what this person does better than you. How can I deliver that? Like I mentioned in my intro, rebuilding the momentum is about benchmarking. It's about understanding what those best people in your category or in your class do, and then copying the strategies that work. You're not copying the person because I am myself. Nobody can beat me at being me. So that's always in my DNA. But I can look at the behaviors. I can learn from these people. So this is what I did regarding current state analysis in my example, breaking the value chain into pieces. Okay, what was the result? The result was that people still liked what I talked about. So it seemed that the main message was there. But the areas where I was off were packaging, understanding the avatar, meaning my target audience. What kinds of people are those? Are they primarily private individuals or corporations who want to buy my services from me? So putting the whole package together, and I'm nowhere near ready. Like I said, maybe I have understood 20 or 25% of it. But that's the idea, that's the whole idea why I'm doing this in front of the camera, to share my lessons, document my life so somebody else can learn from this too. To summarize this section, what works, what doesn't work. Understand what the best people do, copy their behaviors, list what goes into that value chain, all the variables. When you can control them, you control the outcome. Moving on and going to our last and third step. We made progress with the actions over feelings, and now we understand where we are, what works and what doesn't work. Step number 3 in our process is to execute and to understand that this is a loop. I'll explain that in a minute. Execution is the easy part. What I haven't talked about in the past is the loop, how this ties it back to step number 1 and step number 2 and again to step number 3. So first, execution. These are the things that we have talked about in the past. Many people are fine understanding that they need to take action. Okay, they get their mind right. Then they understand where they are, where they need to go. That's all about strategy mostly. But then really the hard part is to be able to carry out the task. Keep going like there's no tomorrow, like your life depends on it, because oftentimes it does, at least in the business life. If you want to stay alive, not go underwater, we just have to keep going. Okay, so quickly, what are those key strategies to be able to execute? I'm a big fan of focus. Discipline is not enough, like I have mentioned in the past. I've been super disciplined, but I was lacking focus. Focus together with discipline is a killer combination. How do you get focus first? You learn how to say no. You delete, you don't add. You get rid of all the distractions in your life so that you can go straight ahead, full steam ahead, at full speed. That's the thing. So say no, get rid of distractions, and get focus. Get really good at it, and then you put in the reps. That's the easy part. But what is the difficult part? I'll give you an example again. Going back to my YouTube strategy, I just explained in step number 2 what happened with me with my growth. I wasn't getting any leads anymore. So I had to analyze what was working and what wasn't. I did the gap analysis. What are the best people doing? What is it that I need to do better? Okay, I started feeling good about it again. I was in my office by my laptop when I stumbled upon this video about storytelling. I was like, okay, that's an interesting video. Maybe I should watch that. It's a 2-hour video. At the end of the video, I was like, what the heck? I have no clue how to tell these stories in front of a camera. I start feeling like shit again. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be depressed. I'm not gonna feel down. I'm just gonna have to go back to this phase. See, that's the thing. This is the loop. This is what happens in our lives. And this is where many people fall short. They might be able to get started with the execution, but then that adversity hits. Something happens, unexpected. Like in my case, I understood what I don't understand. And I'm like, okay, my feelings are bad again. Okay, step number 1 again, actions fix feelings. Okay, going back to step number 2, what's my gap analysis? Okay, I suck at storytelling. Okay, understand what is it the best people do, put together a strategy the same way I explained, and then control the variables, control the outcome, and then go back to execution mode again until something else happens. So this is why many people, when they say that entrepreneurship is about going full steam ahead, flooring it, so to say, and then you drive that car at full speed until something breaks. Then you go back, you analyze, and you fix, and you start again. This is what we talk about. So this is actually not a straight line, it's a loop. The whole thing is a big circle like that, like life. You start at 0 with nothing, alone and broke, you end up the same way. It's this 360-degree loop. Entrepreneurship, fixing your feelings, getting better personally, or with your company is the exact same thing. So it boils down to this. So your goal in the beginning is to go from 0 to 1. But what life and entrepreneurship really is about being able to go back to 0 and back to 1, and back to 0 and back to 1. That's the loop. If you don't understand how the 3 things are synced and connected with each other, you can't complete the loop. And then you're stuck at some of these phases or stages. But when you understand here, when you start executing, that there's always going to be something, and you're fine no matter what happens, because you have the tools in your toolbox. And this momentum bar with these 3 simple steps is your tool in your toolbox, where you can fix all those feelings first, then understand where you are, and then get going again. I've used this exact system through business failures, personal resets, you name it. And every time this 3-step process delivers to rebuild momentum in my life. You can follow the same thing, but remember, start by fixing your actions first. Ignore those feelings because they will always follow. And then the second thing, remember that every single step is connected. When you're here and stuck, you can go back to 0 and start all over. This was all I had today. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your time and attention, and I'll talk to you again in the next video. Thank you.